Hi, and welcome everybody to this recorded online training called How You Can Reclaim This Profession, 3 Steps to More Appreciation, Respect, and Happiness for Pharmacists. I'm your host and happy pharmacist, Mary Sheehan. So this training is a little bit shorter than my 6-step training video that's also available, and it covers different material, and I've broken down one key section that was in my first training. So let us get to it. I'm going to make my screen bigger, if I can figure that out. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. All right. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so now we'll get to it. All right, you are in the right place if you are really frustrated because people listen to Dr. Oz more than they listen to you. You're in the right place if you're beginning to resent other healthcare professionals like doctors and nurses because the people seem to respect their time and knowledge more than yours. You're in the right place if you're frustrated because everyone thinks we just count by fives or slap labels on bottles. You're beginning to feel the effect that the stress of this job is having on your life. So let's go through and look at some people and see who gets respect and appreciation, because that's what this is all about, respect and appreciation. Here we go. This is you, the pharmacist. Does this really reflect what your day is like? How many times are you doing what this image portrays? And are you satisfied with that number? Is it 0? Is it 1? Is it 2? I mean, honestly, in our day, how many times have you been yelled at by a customer or had a customer interrupt you like they had the right? How many times has your boss talked to you like you're a little kid? Let me tell you, there is no stock image of what a day in the world of the retail pharmacist is really like because no one knows. It's like our secret struggle. What about these guys? You went to school as much as they did, and yet they get more respect than you do. No one is busting through the exam room while they are with a patient to ask a question, are they? Can you imagine that? People busting through the door when a doctor's in there with a patient. Your customers aren't calling these guys to complain that they made a mistake that cost them time and money in your pharmacy. Can you imagine that? Instead of the patients yelling at you about a mistake that the doctor made, they actually called the doctor and yell at them. They would never do that. You guys know that. They would never do that. How about this guy? Who gets more love, respect, and appreciation than this guy? Nobody. Let me tell you, none of us do. And really, he's more of an entertainer and a salesman. He makes a ton of money, but more interesting, I think, is how much blind adoration he has from your customers. And look at him, he gets an award for it. So what's the difference between him and us? How can we get what he and the doctors and the nurse practitioners and the PAs get without sacrificing our integrity and ethics? Well, I will tell you. But first, a quote from a new grad. This is a pharmacist at the time of this writing who's been in practice for one of the big chains for less than 2 weeks at the time that he sent this to me. And now I think he's been in practice for, 6 months by now. So you can read some of this, and I ask you, how is he going to keep this up for an entire career? If any of this reflects how you feel, how are you going to keep this up for an entire career? Many of you are thinking, how am I going to keep it up for the month, let alone for an entire career? He, just like you, is beginning to recognize the pain of feeling like he's working on an assembly line rather than in a more satisfying, professional, rewarding environment. Nobody taught this new grad about this stuff in school. Nobody said it was going to be like this. So he wasn't prepared in many ways, and maybe you feel that way. I know I wasn't prepared even after 18 years as a pharmacist for what was coming in the retail setting. There was no mentor, no classes, and it's getting harder as the demands put on us go up. We need a way back. This webinar will point you, at least begin to point you in the right direction. And then the Prescriptions for Happiness course, or my Leadership Academy course for pharmacists that I'll tell you about at the end of the webinar, will offer you the tools and mentoring which you can't get anywhere else. It'll be like you are Dr. Oz, or really any doctor for that matter, with how much love and appreciation I can teach you to create for yourself at work. And you know what else is interesting? We got the title, Doctor of Pharmacy, PharmD, but we didn't necessarily get the perks with that title, like respect and appreciation. And my teachings here and in my leadership course for pharmacists are different than what you learn in school. Obviously, it's more real world stuff. And probably your company isn't offering training like this, like they do for HIPAA or how to sell Sudafed. In this webinar, I'll begin to show you how to get as much respect and appreciation as Dr. Oz and your other fellow healthcare tribe members, which will, in turn, reduce your stress and bring you more happiness and satisfaction from your work. You will even stop bringing your work home with you. You'll sleep better at night. You'll eat better, meaning you won't eat so much sugar to kind of numb out how bad you feel at the end of the day. You'll have more energy, and you will enjoy more your outside pharmacy life, because life is not just about pharmacy. We want to have fun in other areas of our life. And you might want to have a pen and paper handy to take notes. And also we're going to do a little eye-opening exercise toward the end of the webinar that's really a lot of fun. I don't offer this exercise in any of my other webinars or online training that I offer for free. So it's good to have that handy to capture some of that. So just a little bit about me. I have had a very broad clinical background until about 8 years ago when I begged for and landed a job in retail pharmacy. And that was just before the market turned. So now it's much harder to get a job, let alone one in retail. And even though I was in uncharted territory, I'm doing now what I did throughout my whole career, and that is to try to find solutions to life and work's tough problems. So no matter where I worked, home infusion, large hospitals, small hospitals, compounding pharmacies, I was always giving advice to my customers, my coworkers, even my bosses on work and life and relationships. In fact, at Metro Health Hospital in Cleveland, which is a large teaching hospital, we used to all kind of gather when things slowed down, like on a Sunday evening shift, and discuss anything anyone was struggling with, whether it be personal or work related. It didn't matter. Everyone was invited and everything was up for discussion. And we used to call these little sessions On the Couch with Mary Sheehan. And now, with my Leadership Academy course for pharmacists, I bring the couch to you, so to speak. And I'll even do this a little bit for you more generally in this webinar. And I'll tell you this too, this little secret. Here's a little inside scoop for you. Even problem solvers need help with their own problems. And like I said in the beginning, this retail gig was very different for me. It was very difficult. So even I hired people from other disciplines to teach me things like conflict management and leadership and how to stay focused when there's a million things going on and how to drop the judgment, all kinds of courses I took and people that I hired to help me figure this job out and to enjoy it more. And things were going along just fine for me. I had been in retail for a while. I had a lot of good stuff going on. My career was pretty rewarding. And then I got hit by a truck, literally, and then everything changed. So this happened on my way to work one morning when the roads changed very quickly, like they do in Northeast Ohio, where I live. And before I knew it, a semi-truck had smashed the left side of my car, and I was trapped inside. I was in pain, bleeding, terrified. The car looked like a bomb went off. I was scared out of my mind, just thinking things can't get any worse. And then the semi-truck was trying to back into me so it could get off the highway. So I was wrong. Things were getting worse. But thankfully, the ambulance came. The truck stopped backing into me. The ambulance came. They took me to the emergency room. And now, officially, here I was on the other side of the healthcare system as a patient. So here's where reality really set in for me. I was going to be off work for a very long time. My mind and body were not in good shape. I was going to need time to heal. Then there were the visits to the lawyers and the doctors all telling me the same thing. I'm a victim. I was a victim on the highway. I'm a victim in the emergency room. And I'm still a victim, as it was going to be a long, hard recovery, and I was never going to be the same. At least that's what they said. Everybody said that, except one doctor, a psychiatrist. I was friends with this man, and I called him a couple days after the accident because they said I had PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and I was advised that I needed to get some counseling to help treat that or some sort of therapy. So I called my friend, the prominent psychiatrist, and instead of booking an appointment for me, he gave me the shock of my life. He said I needed to take a step back, and that before I did anything, I had to decide if I was a victim or not. And I'm like, decide? A choice? That's ridiculous. It is what it is. I'm a victim. I was hit by a truck. I can't work. What more could there be? And honestly, I wanted to be a victim in a way, subconsciously anyway, because it was easier. I could just listen to what the doctors and lawyers told me to do. I would get lots of time off work. I'd get money for being off. I'd get sympathy from everyone. I'd be off the hook for a lot of the tough stuff I had to do in my life. And it was very, very tempting. But it's not what I chose. And I had an outcome even better than what I could imagine. It's amazing when you make one choice not to be a victim, what can happen in your life. I chose not to be a victim. I chose to create a healing for myself. I chose to recreate my life, my profession, everything, really. Best decision I ever made. Thank God I got hit by a truck. That's what I took. I took the road less traveled. I made a decision, and I took steps based on that decision. First, you have to decide. So where are you headed? What will be your precipitating event? What will be your big wake-up call? What will push you over the edge? Is it going to be your boss yelling at you again about quotas? Is it going to be the patient that crosses the line? Is it going to be the system in general as it becomes less and less human? So I say we either be victims, that's one choice. We just go along and let whatever's going to happen to us happen and complain the whole way down, or we can take some steps, reconnect, and learn to get the respect and appreciation that we need. And that has to start with us at the ground level, because nobody from corporate is going to swoop in and make these changes. So let's go ahead and get to the content for this particular training so you can start to get on the path to the greatest rewards for you. Here's what we're going to cover in this training for this webinar. 2 steps you can take now to reconnect with your passion for pharmacy, how to stand up for yourself, and a 4-step formula for demonstrating your value. I've done the value thing in the 6-step webinar that I did, but people wanted it broken down, so I've done that. I always in the webinars have to touch on how to stand up for yourself. And in fact, that's such a big topic that I have a whole other training webinar on that one that you can also check out. And then something that I don't cover in any of the webinars is that first point, which is the 2 steps that we can take to reconnect today. And you can do that today. You really can. All right. So reconnecting and reclaiming are huge to me. And I encourage you to ask yourself, why did you get into this profession? Now, I had plenty of time to ask myself that when I was laid up on my couch after the truck accident. Did you get in this profession to help people, to make a difference in someone's health and well-being, to share your knowledge, to be part of a team that can offer excellent care to customers? So go back to the roadmap. How can we get back to this? These things that you want, this caring, this connecting, this making a difference for people in a culture that's pulling us far from this. So the first thing I suggest everybody do is write a manifesto. Now, Webster defines manifesto as a written statement declaring publicly the intentions, motives, or views of its issuer. Why should you write a manifesto, you ask? Well, the main purpose is to keep you on the road less traveled, to get you where you want to go. Your reasons for doing this job is what's going to get you through when it's tough. It's the love behind the fight, the fuel behind everything you do. And it's important to have it written down so you can go to it for reinforcement and inspiration. It's not enough just to have an idea or a thought or a dream. You've got to put it on paper. Now, when you became a pharmacist, you took an oath before the state board before you got your license. Remember that? So we know it's important to make these promises. I want you to make a promise to yourself. I want you to write a manifesto. No one has to see it. It can be just for you. If you're a woman, you could call it a Manifesto if you want. That's what I call mine. With my program, like say when anyone who signs up to take one of my courses in the Leadership Academy gets a free manifesto writing kit, but you don't even need that. You can get some inspiration from prescriptionsforhappiness.com and go to my first blog post. Check that out. That'll give you some inspiration and ideas for writing your own manifesto. And the purpose of this, of course, like I said, is to help you reconnect with your passion. And that's what you need to do to have some kind of fuel and fire behind what you're doing. It's like that unlimited energy supply is passion for what you're doing. People who are passionate about what they do tend to have unlimited energy. They do. So that's one thing that I suggest that you do. And it's an important thing, and it should be everybody's first step in reconnecting with their passion. I will offer you another step as part of point 1 in this webinar training, and that is to pick a disease and make an impact. I like this one a lot. It's really, really good for you to do and fun, and there's many opportunities for you hidden in this little tip right here. So pick a disease state you are passionate about and find ways to connect to those customers. Now, in my Leadership Academy training, I do offer ebooks that help you do just that. So I've got books for diabetics, for people with heart disease, for people with anxiety, and in those I teach more specifically how to connect to those people, build their trust, and turn them into raving fans that seek you out for advice versus seeking Dr. Oz out for advice or the internet. Some have even turned this idea of connecting with a certain patient population into something bigger. For example, a pharmacist client I had decided that he was passionate about the overuse of proton pump inhibitors, and he wanted to develop something to help people who needed to, who the doctor said it was okay to get off of those. It's really tough to get off of those PPIs. So he developed a program that he sells to help people wean off those drugs. So see what he did? He picked a disease, or, like people that with digestive disorders that he was passionate about, and he went into it and created something, and it's just a lot of fun for him. So some pharmacists have given talks on a certain subject they're passionate about, like weight loss or hypertension. This kind of activity increases their visibility in the community. It builds respect. It builds trust. Some have been paid for these kinds of speaking gigs. Some have used this kind of work about connecting with a certain disease state and making themselves experts in communication with a certain patient population to land other jobs, to get side jobs, to change careers. So just to get you started, make it a goal. If you say diabetes is something you're passionate about, that you're going to connect with 5 diabetics, like connect with them, not hand them a pamphlet or direct them to a website. Offer encouragement, offer your words of wisdom. Maybe you put together some low-carb recipes based on the season for your diabetic patients. You look for people that had a decrease in their type 2 diabetic medication, then you offer them encouragement for weight loss, any kind of thing. Be creative. The idea is to think about yourself as this expert, and then this whole group of people that really need your expertise. How would you like to connect with them? And it is really, really a lot of fun to do that. Really connects you with your passion. Unlimited energy here for you there. So to recap that first point, you write a manifesto, you decide to connect or inspire a group of people like the diabetics that connects you more deeply into the meaning behind being in healthcare, to heal. It's important to remember why you are doing what you're doing, because that is what is going to keep you going when it gets tough. So if I've connected with, say, 3 working women, that happens to be my passion. I love inspiring and connecting with working women at work, and say I made their day in some way, that is going to be enough good vibes to help me get through when someone is yelling at me. I promise. It works. So that's another reason that we do this, not only to connect with our passion, which really fuels you, but also if you have enough good things that happen to you during the day, it really helps balance out and get you through when things are tough. So we've got to talk a little bit about when things get tough for us in the pharmacy. So let's move to the next point. And that is how to stand up for yourself with your customer's boss and or even your company that builds trust, respect, and good feelings. So we're going to go through these points. Now, one of the things that I found that pharmacists are most afraid of is this. So we're going to just put it out on the table. We're going to say it out loud. If we start to stand up for ourselves with our customers and our bosses, we're going to get into trouble. That's our big fear. By that, I mean that the customer will complain to corporate and it'll be a black mark on our store. The customer will complain to corporate and it'll be a black mark on you. Big fear of ours. Let's be honest. It's a big fear. It's a big fear. It's a big fear of mine. And I've been working with this stuff for a long time and I'm still afraid. We have to do it anyway. We're afraid that if we stand up for ourselves with our bosses, for example, they're going to retaliate against us. Valid. I get that. It's human nature to want to protect yourself and your paycheck, especially if you have a family. Then you're protecting them as well when you're protecting your paycheck. And so you are doing the right thing by wanting to protect yourself, your money, and your family. Absolutely. I get it. I feel the exact same way. I am telling you, though, that you can keep the paycheck and get the respect and maintain the relationships. Like I always say, you can say anything to anyone. You just have to know how and you have to know when. So the first thing that you have to do, and it's a must, you must take the lead. You must realize that you are in charge of the interaction. Not a controlling, manipulative, dominating kind of way, but in a true positioned leadership kind of way. And you should be, especially when it comes to dealing with customers, right? We don't want them in charge. They usually aren't capable of being in charge. It's a mindset, right? It's the opposite of being a victim. It's being in charge. I'm in charge of the situation. Whatever the situation is, you must realize you are in charge. Take the lead. That's point one. Point two is about nonverbal communication. 90% of communication is nonverbal, right? And what does corporate and everybody else worry about? The 10% that's verbal. What to say, how to say, here's your script, blah, blah, blah. So to help you with this, just to give you a basic understanding of what I mean by nonverbal communication, is that you can teach yourself how to approach someone with confidence. And one way to do that is with body posturing. So here is the classic Superman pose. And I know it looks silly because he really is dressed up like Superman, but I couldn't resist this one, right? And they did do some studies, and it really does give you more confidence. And they've measured, it tends to reduce cortisol levels a little bit in people. And then there's some evidence, it's a little bit iffy, I'm not sure about increasing testosterone, just like momentarily, but there's definitely something about it. I mean, there's something about, that posturing that you use when you cross the finish line. What do you want to do? You want to put your hands up in the air. So that's a big power posturing. Even more powerful than this one is if your legs are like this guy and then your hands are up in the air. Now I have done that before at work, but generally you seem a little conspicuous. So this one at least is a little more conspicuous. And if you're having trouble with this, imagine that person you've talked to who's closed down, like their arms are folded across their chest and they're all hunched over. So start to play with this at work a little bit. Start to look at people's nonverbal communication and even start to observe your own nonverbal communication. What impression are you giving off when your arms are crossed and your head's down and you're kind of hunched over versus when you're standing up straight and you're making eye contact and your arms are at your side and your legs are a little bit apart? It's definitely a different kind of message you're sending out. Posturing, big. So we've got you're in charge, nonverbal communication. Now we're going to connection. Now, I use this image because handshake is the universal sign of connection, right? It says we have a deal, we're together on this, we got something going here. It's just the universal sign. Now, I don't shake people's hands at work. Like I don't give advice and then shake someone's hand to say, oh, we just had a great interaction. But it's a good metaphor. It's easy to remember. I believe that the best way to communicate or connect, not communicate, but connect with a customer is with eye contact, gentle eye contact. And we tend to avoid that, don't we? Like if we feel vulnerable, we avoid eye contact. If we feel threatened, if we're angry, we avoid eye contact. So you guys know that there's something behind that, right? So I suggest that you look at the person gently, kind of soften your gaze, keep open body language as in the previous slide as a way to make a connection. Yes, and even when you're standing up for yourself, it's especially important because if you're standing up for yourself about something that's right, that you need to stand up for, like a customer complaint, you're going to look at them. You don't have to stare them down, but you want to make that kind of connection so that everybody knows that you are in this together. It's kind of a unifying thing to do too. It avoids this, it's going to be me against you for the rest of our lives kind of thing. We want conflict to be resolved quickly and easily, right? One way to do it. So we've got, you're in charge, nonverbal communication, connect with people with gentle eye contact, and now words. So this is the other 10% of communication is verbal. It's good to know what you can say when you need to calm someone down. You don't want to give the impression that you're bailing on them. This is really important. And I teach this all the time. When you are in a conflict situation or you have to stand up for yourself or you have to go to bat for yourself or somebody else, you do want to have this approach that you are on the same side, that the kind of like, it's like the problem's the enemy. Like you're not my enemy. I'm not your enemy. This problem is our enemy. So I choose words that express that we are kind of in this together. And you want your words to reflect who you are. You want to choose them carefully. You want to end any kind of confrontation with you and the other person on at least decent terms, maybe not best friends, but on respected, even ground. So here's a few phrases that I offer you today. I'm offering my pharmacists in my classes words to use for the specific situations that they're having trouble with. So I suggest not abandoning any situation. Don't blame people. Don't fuel the flames. Like my boss was confronting me one day a couple years back. Not the boss I currently have, but a different boss was confronting me on something. And it was very easy for me to just like blame somebody else. But I stayed with her. I made eye contact. It was really hard. I mean, don't think I'm not appreciating how hard this is, you guys. I know it is hard when things are heated and when it's tough. These are just 4 things that you can do to get you started. And there's only so much I can give you on a webinar, but it gives you a feel for kind of what my deeper training is about. And also it gives you this appreciation of having a plan for tough times at work, having a plan for your career when things are tough, especially. You don't go to a job interview unprepared or a vacation or a first date. No one teaches you how to be prepared for how rough this job is. So just taking the 4 steps that I gave you will create respect, trust, and good feelings when it seems like those things are the hardest to attain. They are, just remember you're in charge. Take the lead, use the power posturing, and make a connection using gentle eye contact, and choose your words. Have them ready ahead of time. I've got a whole list of words that I use for myself. Some of them I write on note cards in the beginning when I didn't know how to deal with someone yelling at me, and then eventually they become habit. Of course, that will happen for you. All right, so we've already covered those 2 main points of the webinar, and let's go on to this one that's a little bit more fun. So we'll go from something tough to something a little more fun. And this is where you get to do a cool exercise and use your imagination. And we need to do that every now and again. So here we go. People wanted my 4-step formula for demonstrating value. Here it is, my 4-step formula. Now I ask you, do you ever really wonder, instead of just being mad at Dr. Oz, do you ever wonder how he does it? Like, do you think, okay, maybe if I had a production staff, writers, agents, publicists, stylists, maybe then people would be nice to me and be respectful? Yeah, probably. If our pharmacies were as pretty as his sets, I'm sure we'd get more respect. And really what I'm about is stealing some of his techniques. So let's steal from Dr. Oz. And we are going to get to these 4 points, but first we're going to get to it in a different way. And that's by doing a little exercise, which is great for those who learn by doing. So grab your paper and pen and tap into your imagination a little bit. All right, so this is me on the left shortly after my accident on the set of a new show that was in Cleveland called Can You Relate with Kathy Dawson. It was a relationship show, and I was really excited to be a part of it because I wanted to show pharmacists in a different light, right in line with what is still my vision in my manifesto, my vision for us and my mission for my business, and what I want to see insofar as pharmacists being the leaders in healthcare. So here I am. I had, I don't know, 3 minutes and 30 seconds to show what we pharmacists do. So imagine, what do you think I talked about? What do you suppose? What would you talk about if that was you? Would you talk about meeting quotas? Would you talk about discount cards and coupons? Would you talk about how your boss yelled at you? About how you count by fives all day? About how many people came through the drive-through? How your back hurt? How your feet hurt? I mean, have a feel for that. Would you listen to that? Would you tune into that station? Would you want to talk about those things? No, you wouldn't. So imagine that's you sitting next to Kathy Dawson. What would you talk about? Here's the scene. Imagine. Kathy calls you. She has a real soft spot in her heart for pharmacists because one of us saved her mother's life. Imagine. So she's made it part of her TV mission to change the public's perception of us. Pretty cool, right? And she calls you. She wants you on the show. So what would you talk about? You'd probably tell a story about how you helped someone with a serious medical problem. You fixed a mistake that saved their life. You cut a drug interaction. Maybe you helped someone choose an over-the-counter drug that really made a difference for them in some way. You made that mom feel better after her kid was in the emergency room and she was confused about the meds. Stuff like that we do. You know, people like that stuff. You might let the audience, the listening audience, in on a secret. Like, hey, Kathy, did you know that pharmacists fix 30 errors a day that doctors make? No, I didn't. That'd be interesting. The audience would like that. You get a lot of respect, right? A lot of appreciation. Myth busting. People love that. I bet you didn't know that pharmacists play a big role in getting your prescriptions approved. If you think it's magic that your insurance company pays for it. Well, no, it's not. We have to do all these things and make that happen. People like that kind of thing. So, how you would have your words prepared when you spoke to her, right? You wouldn't be mumbling and fumbling around. You would have a certain posture when you talk to her. You'd have a smile on your face because you're proud. She thinks you're great. You think you're great. You're going to let the people know how great pharmacists are. So I want you to do this exercise. If you didn't do it now and you didn't get into the groove now, do it for yourself. Take some time, have some fun with it, maybe even act it out. Why not? No one has to know. Maybe you have kids at home that would love this kind of stuff. They love to play pretend. And, think about how you felt when you did that exercise. And that's the kind of feeling that I want you to bring to work the next day in your shift. How you felt about yourself when you were talking about all the value that you bring to your customers. So the next time you get to counsel somebody, change your perspective. Think of yourself as a trusted professional and a camera is on you, capturing that moment for all posterity. Choose your words as they were written just for you and reflect who you really are. Summarize for the patient what you told them while making eye contact, like they always do at the end of each TV segment. And keep track. Do this for yourself, you guys. Take a moment to jot down a few notes about a really good interaction you had for somebody or something you said or did that really made somebody feel good, that then in turn made you feel good. How you solved a problem. Anything you do that has value, write it down. We document everything. Why not this stuff? In fact, you could look at that as your best of reel and pull it out when you have a really bad day, or maybe you need to prove your value to your boss or to a new future employer. And of course, we don't have time to do this with each and every patient. But imagine if you had Dr. Oz's team of PR people, social media, writers, producers, agents. You'd be famous as well. It's all marketing. It's telling a different story to the public about what you do and telling a story to yourself and to your bosses. And guess what? The story about you having value, it's a true story. So I ask you, what story is your path leading you toward? the pill counter working on the assembly line, or the trusted, respected, appreciated practitioner whose advice, wisdom, and compassion we couldn't live without? So ask yourself right now, yes or no. Do you want more respect and appreciation? Yes or no. Do you want more energy at the end of every day? Yes or no. Do you want to find happiness and fulfillment in this job? So there's only so much I can cover, obviously, in a webinar training like this one is, recorded training. So I do have a leadership academy for pharmacists that take these concepts and many, many more and go a little bit deeper with this. So if you really want to go deeper with this stuff and say yes to yourself and say yes to your career and really own it, reclaim this profession, reclaim your passion, have more energy, this Leadership Academy course could be for you. So let me break it down with you a little bit to tell you how this works and what I teach. More of the features of the program that I have. So in module 1, well, basically, let me tell you the modules. There are about 4, and sometimes I offer a bonus module based on the course or the individual person that signs up. So they're an hour in length. I record them, but they are live, like it's a webinar setting like this, once a week. They vary because I know our schedules are crazy. My schedule's crazy. You get to stay in the comfort of your own home. Like I said, they're recorded, so I always email the recordings. People ask me questions before the class. I answer them in class. If you can't make it, you always get your questions answered. I'm very available in my live trainings, very available, because I want you to get really good results, because that's my mission. All right, let's break it down. Module 1. You will learn how to begin to have control of your workday. You'll get more comfortable in your own skin, new skin, like the skin of somebody who loves their work. The dread starts to lift. We work on your triggers. What is really getting you down at work? We're going to work on those and diffuse those for you. A lot of times people put a wall up so they're not hurt, so that they numb out instead of dealing with how difficult this job can be. We're going to teach you how to drop that wall, but not make yourself vulnerable. All sorts of techniques to reduce anxiety that I cover in this first module. And again, if you're ready to sign up right now, you can go to prescriptionsforhappiness.com/career happiness. And just to let you know, /CH. I do interview everyone before enrolling them in the class. That's to make sure that we're a good fit for each other. And then we can talk more specifically about what your particular goals, objectives, and problems are at work. So you'll fill out a questionnaire. It's brief, short answers, and then let me know when the best time to contact you. And yes, this is recorded, just so you know, this is ongoing. My course is ongoing. I would just plug you in with the next group. But first we talk to make sure we're a good fit. Module 2 is where we begin to take control of emotionally charged situations and really master conflict. Conflict is a big one. It's a big one for all of us, not just pharmacists at work. It's a big one everywhere. We begin to show you how to set yourself up to win, to turn enemies into allies, and I teach you my very fun and practical and incredibly powerful energy matching system. Here's a testimonial. This is a physician that I worked with who's also a homeopath that I taught, who's a student in the Leadership Academy, about some of the good work that I do. Module 3, reconnect with your purpose and passion. We're going to go more into words and how you use them and how to say, what to say, when to say. We're going to plan your career just like we plan a vacation. And we all take the passion producing initiative. I love to take it. I take it again and again when I have a class that I take all the way through the 4 modules. Module 4. This is what it's all about, you guys, right? It's creating a culture that you can walk into work every day and know that you help create the best place to work, because you're going to create it. It's not going to fall out of the sky. You've got to create it. Where you learn more how to lead the team, have the team love to be led by you. You creating so much good stuff in your day that you're always saying yes to that. And then I call these people that you end up leading, your coworkers, even your boss, because you can lead your boss, just because You don't have the title of PIC, doesn't mean you're not in charge. This is very important. Yes, a lot of the pharmacists that enroll in my course happen to be pharmacists in charge, but not all of them. Here's a nurse who did a lovely testimonial. I worked with him for quite a long time. He was incredibly exhausted by his work. He was a third shift nursing supervisor, and a lot of times there were call-offs, and he was in charge, one man in charge of sometimes up to 30 patients. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, I think we're stressed. This man was incredibly stressed. Did a great job. Went through the Leadership Academy. And here is a lovely pharmacist, not a pharmacist in charge, Monique. I worked with her one-on-one. She wasn't part of a group, but we did some one-on-one work together, and she did great. She has so much more happiness at work now and confidence. And I really enjoyed working with her. I'm really proud. She got really good results from the course. Also with the Leadership Academy, besides the live 4 hours that we'll spend together, you're going to get my ebooks that I wrote. There'll be PDFs that you're going to have for your own reference. And basically, like I said, there's also other little tidbits that I give you throughout the course, other little bonus material like a manifesto writing kit that I mentioned, and some tips on how to stay physically fit at work that I don't have slides for, but you're going to get all of that. I do guarantee my work. And part of why I want to talk to you beforehand is to make sure that we're a good fit for each other, that you're going to get the benefits out of the course that you want. I mean, why embark on yet another thing that's not going to give you joy and happiness? You should enjoy this course. This course should be a good fit for you. You should get results. You should see the fruits of that labor in my course at work. So we'll talk ahead of time before we decide that you're a good fit and you want to enroll. And like I said, just go to prescriptionsforhappiness.com/CH to fill out a little questionnaire. We'll have a little one-on-one chat to see if the Leadership Academy is a good fit for you. And we did finish this in under an hour, this little training, which is great. Check out my other trainings if you want. There's several of them that I offer free on my website and on YouTube, free videos. And thank you very much for your time and attention and listening to this training.